You're listening to Keep Sports News. Hey guys. Hello. Welcome to KSN episode 44. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. I sure did. And that is why I did not do this episode on Monday. I did say in the last episode at the end, I'll either see you guys on Monday or Tuesday. So this episode is a special Tuesday edition of KSN. Sometimes it's like that, but most of the episodes are Mondays and Fridays. And I will say the next episode will be on Friday. So, Memorial Day weekend was a big weekend in sports, obviously. So, what are we going to talk about? Yeah, I used to say that in my early episodes, but for some reason I don't say it anymore. I'll say it once in a while, whenever it pops into my mind. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, of course, NBA, NHL conference final playoffs. MLB, of course, Major League Baseball. The UFL regular season is coming to a close. The playoffs are coming up. But I'm going to start with auto racing. That's right. Every year, Memorial Day weekend, the Sunday before Memorial Day, is a huge day for auto racing. Okay? There were 3 races. So, the first one in the morning on ABC, it was the Formula 1 Grand Prix in Monaco. Okay. That was in the morning in the USA. Monaco is in Europe. And then, of course, the oldest race ever, I believe, is the Indianapolis 500. That's during the afternoon. For the first time, it was on Fox. And that evening was, the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for the first time, that was broadcasted on Amazon Prime. Okay? Back in the old days, for those of you that watched the Indy 500 for a long time, you remember when it used to be on ABC every year for decades. Until 2019, it was moved to NBC. Those were the recent years of the Indy 500 until this year. For the first time ever, it was broadcasted on Fox. And for NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600, it was broadcasted on Fox for a long time. I think since 2001. Until last year, or until this year. Last year was Fox's last year broadcasting that NASCAR race. And this year, it was on Amazon Prime. So a new change. The Formula 1 Grand Prix, we'll start with that one first because that was the first of the 3 races. That was broadcasted on ABC. However, it was not, ESPN commentators. It was Sky Sports commentators. Sky Sports is in Europe. It's an English, British TV network. Okay? But ABC, ESPN, they have the rights to show that. It's kind of like if you live in Canada, you get the TSN channels, and they also have the rights to show a lot of American sporting events. And they had the rights to broadcast the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 from the Amazon Prime broadcast. Yeah, they did. So it's all about the money. I mean, that's normal now for sports business. So, anyways, the Monaco Grand Prix was first. Formula One. Let me just say this. This is like one of the only times, if not the only time, I would watch auto racing. And it would normally be Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. So I know that the Formula One is really popular in Europe, which is cool. Um, so that was first, and I did not watch it live because I'm not a morning person. I don't wake up really early. But I have YouTube TV. YouTube TV. The best part about that is that you can record unlimited amount of programming. Unlimited. I mean, that is awesome. You know? Yeah, it's expensive, but, if you're going to use it a lot, I think it's worth it. Okay? You see, recent years, you know, the Indy 500 was on NBC and Peacock. Peacock is part of NBC because the NBC logo is a peacock if you look closely at it. And, the past couple years, I would watch the Indy 500. I don't have to watch it live, because it was on Peacock. I could watch it later, But before that, when it was on ABC, I pretty much had to watch it live, which I had no problem doing at the time. So, but I have YouTube TV. I have a Fire Stick on Amazon Fire Stick, and you can get so many apps on there, YouTube TV, Peacock, and I have one of those illegal apps. My brother got that for me, so I don't know how he got it. It's like some crazy secret. And that's how I got the TSN channels, the Canadian sports channels. And that is really how I became a fan of the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And by the way, that's coming up pretty soon. So anyways, the Monaco Grand Prix, it was on at like 8 a.m. Central, I believe. And I didn't watch it live because I didn't have to, and I don't wake up early. I have YouTube TV. So, that afternoon, I watched that race. That's right. And the best part, obviously, about YouTube TV is you can record as much as you want, and you can fast forward through the commercials. I have done that to a UFL game this week, which we'll get into later. However, there are no commercials. There were no commercials during the whole broadcast, which was a surprise. No commercials during the Formula One. I think it's always like that too, because earlier this year they had a Formula One Grand Prix in Las Vegas, and it was on late at night, and I decided to watch it live because I usually stay up late. And there was like no commercials. I'm like, are they eventually going to go to commercial? I know it's not the ESPN announcers, it's the Sky Sports announcers. No, commercial free. That's insane. But yeah, I watched it. I do remember that track, that course, because I have seen it before. This was not my first time watching that Formula One Monaco Grand Prix. And I gotta say, I was entertained from start to finish. The commentators, they made it more entertaining. It's so cool. It's crazy. Formula One is just, and I think there's also a video game, a Formula One video game. They probably do have that track in that video game. So, um, yeah, there were 20 racers, and there weren't that many caution flags, but there were some caution flags near the beginning of the race. And I don't know any of these racers because I never got into Formula One like a lot of people did. Unlike a lot of people are into Formula One like they are in soccer. Um, so congratulations to the winner. What's his name? Lando Norris, British motorsports racing driver. He came in first place. But yeah, these are racing drivers from around the world. Uh, there's a few from Australia. There's some from France, Great Britain. It's mostly, Europeans. I don't think they have, nope, no USA. There's a Canadian. I see there's a Canadian. There was a Canadian in this race. There was a Japanese race driver in this race as well. But mostly European. So yeah, there was only 20 drivers in this race, and there was only 78 laps. But it's not like your typical oval course like you see in NASCAR and IndyCar, mainly NASCAR. This Monaco Grand Prix has been around since 1929. Wow, I did not know that. That's crazy. So yeah, I watched that during the afternoon. Yeah, it was pretty much during the second half of the Indy 500, but I was going to watch that later, the Indy 500, because I also recorded that. I DVR'd that as well. Also, I forgot, this Memorial Day weekend was also the beginning of the French Open tennis, and I'll talk about that later as well. Okay? Now to the Indy 500. Okay? I watched that that evening, Sunday night. Okay? And yes, Sunday night was the NASCAR race. And I did not watch. I tuned in for a little bit just to see what the broadcast looked like because it was on Amazon Prime. And after for a little bit, that was it. I turned it off because I want to watch the Indy 500 because that was the second race of that day. And I'm sure, the NASCAR broadcast would spoil it. Hey, this guy won the Indy 500. So I decided to watch the Indy 500 that night, and that is what I did. Here's what I did, though. While I was watching two different things, I was playing two different programs on two different TVs. Because I have my new big TV, and then I still have my old smaller TV. Still works. So what I did was, on the big TV, I played the Indy 500, and on the little TV, I was playing the French Open tennis. However, it wasn't. See, the French Open, for years, it was on NBC and Peacock. Now it's on TNT Sports, TNT and True TV. This is their first year broadcasting the French Open. Yeah, all these changes, I think it's because, the Indy 500 and the French Open used to be on NBC and Peacock, but not anymore. And I think the reason why is because the NBA is coming back to NBC next season. The next NBA season is coming back to NBC. And I remember back then, it was a while ago, when they announced that NBC would have the rights to the 2025-2026 NBA season. It was a huge, huge contract. So I guess the part of the deal was, all right, you want the NBA back? All right, you're not going to broadcast the Indy 500 anymore and the French Open. All right, and because Indy 500 is a 1 day thing, and the French Open is only 2 weeks. And also, when NBC and Peacock used to broadcast the French Open, it was mainly only on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Memorial Day Monday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing. I'm like, what? I know, right? It's so dumb. But I watch the French Open every year, and when it was on NBC, I enjoyed NBC's coverage, even though it wasn't really much of a coverage. But I liked the announcers. The announcers were Mary Carrillo, John McEnroe, and I heard that they used to be in mixed doubles. I think they won the French Open in mixed doubles back in the late 70s or something like that. Wow, I don't know, a long time ago. And the announcer from last year was Ian Eagle's son, Noah Eagle. Yeah, he looks just like his father. He sounds just like his father. He's really good. So, but I'm sure TNT Sports is much better because you get to see a lot more tennis 7 days a week. Okay, I have yet to check that out because I've been busy, got other things going on, but I can finally check out some of it. I don't know. I might not watch as much. I might watch more of it during the second week because the second week is always more important than the first week. But I have that recorded as well, DVR. And I do like Patrick McEnroe. He is the host of the French Open. And he has his podcast called Holding Court on SiriusXM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I love it. Really good. So I have yet to check that out. I'll have to check that out whenever I have more free time. So, and you know what? I don't really know much on what happened the first 2 days of the French Open, okay? But we'll get into that in a bit. So yeah, back to the Indy 500. So I was watching that on the big TV, and I was also watching the French Open on the other TV. But it was not the TNT's coverage. It was on Tennis Channel. They had a program called French Open Prime Time, or Prime Time at Roland Garros French Open on Tennis Channel. It was basically like a highlight show or like a post show recapping on what happened during day one, because it was on a Sunday. Sunday was day one of the French Open, and I figured, all right, let's listen to these people, the Tennis Channel people, which I do like. Yeah, they get to tell me what happened during the day. Usually there's really not much exciting news during the first couple of days because it's the first two rounds. A lot of the favorites usually win the first two rounds, so most likely I'll get into that probably this weekend when the tournament is halfway over probably. So, and also the French Open it's actually my least favorite out of the four majors, the four Grand Slams. The French Open is my least favorite, but I still enjoy watching it. That doesn't mean I don't like it at all. Australian Open's my number one favorite. Okay, my second favorite, I guess it's the US Open. And then I guess third is Wimbledon. I don't know, it's really close between US Open and Wimbledon. But Australian Open's my number one favorite, and French Open's my least favorite. So, but I like all of them. Hey, the Olympics. They had the Olympics last year. I was really into that tennis because it was on hard court. Or no, it was on clay. Excuse me. I was thinking about the Tokyo Olympics. That was on hard court. The Paris Olympics, that was in France, even though it was clay. The same courts from the French Open, Roland Garros. I really got into that though. I really did. So, anyway, so yeah, I was watching that. The Tennis Channel's prime time coverage of them recapping on what happened during the first day of the tournament. And then my main focus was obviously watching the Indy 500. But so yeah, I was playing both at the same time. I had the Indy 500 on mute the entire time, no sound, because I was listening to the Tennis Channel people talk about what happened during day one of the French Open. So I was listening to them while I was watching the Indy 500. And the Indy 500 does have commercials. A lot of times they would do that picture in picture. They'll show a small video of the live race, and then they'll show a bigger picture of the commercials. Then on top you'll see the standings or the drivers' positions, who's in first, second, third, fourth, and so on. I would fast forward through that. I don't want to watch that picture in picture. I would fast forward through that. So, yeah. They had like a delay. The Indy 500 had like a slight rain delay. I remember it was either last year or the year before. The Indy 500 had a very long rain delay. And they somehow managed to finish the race before it got dark. Yeah, because this track has no lights. Yeah, it's old school. This race, this was the 109th edition of the Indy 500. Same track. There was over 200,000 people. That is insane. That many people, think about that, going to this spectacular auto racing event in Indianapolis. I wonder how many of those fans went to that night's NBA playoff game, because it was at Indiana, home of the Pacers. We'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, it was so many people. So they had a slight delay, but luckily didn't have to watch it live, so I can fast forward until the actual race began, and that's what I did. So normally the Indy 500 doesn't have that many caution flags, but this one did. This one did. I saw there was someone crashed into the pit stop, and like, I think this was someone else's car. They were like changing the tires, and then somehow it caught on fire. What the hell? Like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, man, these cars, they're going over 215 miles an hour. Think about that. Half of that, 100 miles an hour, that's really fast too. They were going 200 plus miles per hour. Smokes. It's crazy. Now, when you watch it on TV, it doesn't look like they're going that fast, but however, you'll see different camera views where, oh my gosh, they're just zooming by, like, oh. Yeah, I always enjoy watching that race. I mean, golly, 109th edition? Insane. 500 miles, 200 laps. And I forgot who won, but I'm looking it up right now. Congratulations to Alex Palou. It was his first Indianapolis 500 victory. That is amazing. Alex Palou. Or Palou. Where is he from? I would like to see the results. Maybe they'll show me on Wikipedia. Where is it? Alex Palou. He's from... Scrolling down here. He's from Spain. He is from Spain. A Spanish driver. A Spanish racing driver won the Indianapolis 500 in 2025. That's amazing. Let's see. Does it show the rest of the standings or the rankings? Oh yeah, they do. I think. But yeah, these drivers. They come from all over the world. Oh, I remember American driver Joseph Newgarden. He came in third. There are certain. I remember because I watched this pretty much every year for like the past 10 years. There are certain names that I remember. Joseph Newgarden's one of them. We have a Mexican. There was a Mexican driver in this Indy 500. There was a driver named Rossi. Is he American? I forget. His last name is Rossi. We have a few from Sweden. There was one from Denmark. A couple of Americans, a Canadian. Alexander Rossi. He is American. I remember him. I remember there's another one named Ryan Hunter Ray. I don't know if he's in this anymore. He years ago he was like always in the top 10, top 5. Let's see. Oh, I remember. Oh yeah, the Brazilian Helio Castroneves. He won it like a couple years ago, I believe. Oh, Ryan Hunter Ray, he was in this, but he didn't do so well. He came in 27th. Um, okay, so there was 34. Um, half of them were almost half of them were Americans. So, and the winner of the Indy 500, they get to pour milk on their face, and they get They get that trophy where they put their face on the trophy. Isn't that amazing? That's got to be one of the best trophies in sports. If you're an IndyCar racing fan or not, I have to put that as one of the greatest trophies ever because of its history. So, yeah, and for the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600, I did not watch that. I used to be a NASCAR fan, but not much anymore. It's mainly because a lot of my favorite drivers retired, and it was just one of those things that I got into as a young boy, a young kid, early teens, But recent years, I kind of stopped caring about it, But I have no idea who won. I'm looking it up right now. Congratulations to Ross Chastain. I never heard of him. He won the Coca-Cola 600. Yeah, 600 miles. Craziness. Let me see. There are a few NASCAR drivers that I do remember their names. AJ Allmendinger, I remember him. Brad Keselowski. Okay, they came in the top 5. Who else? What about Denny Hamlin? Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. Okay, yeah, they're still in today's NASCAR. Joey Logano as well. Okay. Austin Dillon. What about Kurt Busch? Kyle Busch's brother. Was he in this or is he retired? I don't know. Kyle Larson. Wait a minute. Wasn't there a race driver that was in both the Indy 500 and the NASCAR race? Was it Kyle Larson, Joey Logano? It was one of those two, I think. It might have been Kyle Larson. Let me see. Was he in both the Indy 500 and the NASCAR? Or maybe I might be thinking of something else. Let me look it up again. Let me look up the results again for the Indy 500. Because there was a race driver that was in the Indy 500, but he got he got into caution and he was out of the race. He was out of the race for the rest of the day. Let's see. Let me go back to this year's. Okay, let's see. What's his name? I know he's an American. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Oh, it was Kyle Larson. It was Kyle Larson. Yeah, it really was Kyle Larson. He came in 21st. So he was in both the Indy 500 and NASCAR? That same day? That is insane. I don't see how that's possible. Because you have to fly. You have to fly to Charlotte, North Carolina from Indianapolis. I think he's done this a few times too, where he did both in the same day. That's crazy. All right. So yeah, I did not watch the the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600. That was weird. Like, not only the Indy 500 was on Fox for the first time ever, the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 was on um, Amazon Prime for the first time. I know, it's weird. All right. Speaking of the French Open, I'm actually going to look up some scores to see if there's any any upsets. Usually there isn't. However, on the men's side, there usually isn't. The women's side, sometimes there's quite a bit. Let's see, men's side here, Yannick Sinner, and yep, he's number one after that 3-month suspension. He came back a couple weeks ago, and he looked really good. He's one of the favorites. The second favorite is Carlos Alcaraz. Who knows? That could be the final. That could be the final. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Huge tennis news. Congratulations to Novak Djokovic for winning his 100th title. He finally won his 100th title. It was at the Geneva Open. He beat Hubert Hurkacz from Poland. And I never got a chance to look at that match because, didn't really have the time. And I wasn't sure if Novak was going to win this match or not, and he did. This match was 3 tight sets. The first set, Novak lost 5-7, okay? Second set, he won 7-6 in a tiebreaker, 7-2. And then he won the third set in another tiebreaker, 7-6, tiebreaker 7-2. And this man just turned 38 years old. Yeah, a few days after my birthday. Holy crap. I wasn't sure if he was really going to do it, but wow. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad. Even though I missed the match, but I heard about it. It is crazy. He just turned 38 and he wins a match like that. You lose the first set 7-5. You win the next 2 set 7-6, 7-6 in a tiebreaker to win the match. That is not easy. That is just craziness, man, especially for his age. Whether you like him or not, in my opinion, he is the greatest of all time. And I do like him. I never hate him. I wish him well because now, he was in the big 3 era. Now he's the big 1. He's the big 1. He's the only one left out of the big 3. Yeah. What if he wins? Man, what if he wins the French? That'll be crazy. I think at this point, okay, so yeah, he won his 100th title. You know, he was so close to winning that at the Miami Open. He was in the Miami Open finals and he was going for that title number 100. And I was watching that match live because it wasn't, it was at nighttime and he was so close. He was that damn close to win. This time on clay court, he wins this match. Oh, wins 100. He wins the 100th, his 100th title. 19 years later, after his first one, I believe, 2006. Oh my gosh, yeah. After his 38th birthday, he wins that match to win the title, number 100, and now he's entering the French Open. At this point, I think he really wants to win one more Grand Slam so that he can have the record, the all-time Grand Slam singles titles. Yeah, he's tied with Margaret Court. Margaret Court is a female tennis player from a long, long time ago. Okay? But, you can't really compare men's tennis to women's tennis. You can't compare today's men's tennis to 50 years ago women's tennis. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, Margaret Court, it's true. She does have 24 Grand Slam titles. Novak also has 24 Grand Slam titles. Do I want him to win one more? Of course. Whether if it's the French Open, Wimbledon, or U.S. Open. I just hope he doesn't hurt himself. We'll see. I think his best chance is grass because he's won that so many times. He's won Wimbledon a lot. So, yeah. And usually Novak, he goes really far in to the French Open. So now Novak, he plays, or he played, as I speak. I'm speaking this at 3 a.m. Yes, I'm recording it at this hour. And you're going to, I release these episodes at 11 a.m. Central. So as I speak, he either just played the first round or he's playing right now. He's playing against against Mackenzie McDonald. I think I heard of that player from the USA. So, yeah. Round one is now split into 3 days. I don't know if it's like that for all 4 Grand Slams or just certain ones. I think the Australian Open did that. Now the French Open's doing it. I think it's all 4 of them that's doing that. Round 1 in 3 separate days, just in case if, you get rain delays or longer matches. That helps. All right, so back to the scores here. Any upsets here on the men's side? Denis Shapovalov, I remember him from Canada. He's left-handed like me, so I always wish him well. And I have the TSN channel, so their main focus is on the Canadian players, so that's cool. Of course, there's a lot of French players because it's in French, or it's in France, the French Open. Gael Monfils, I believe he also turned 38. He's married to Ukrainian player Alina Svitolina, so they're always great to watch. And let me tell you, Gael Monfils, he looks the same from the past 15 years. Him and Novak. They both look the same when they were like in their early 20s. It's crazy. I know, they're one of those athletes. Let's see. Oops. Oh, Stan Wawrinka. Wow, I'm surprised he's still playing because he's even older. He just turned 40. He turned 40 and he's still playing, but he lost the first round. I think it's time for him to hang it up maybe at some point. This could be Stan's last year. Okay. But yeah, he used to be a really good player from Switzerland. Let's see. I'm looking. What the heck? Oh, that was on Monday. Okay, let me go back to Sunday. I heard about Ben Shelton. He won an epic five-setter match. He's a cool dude to watch from the USA. Same with Francis T. Obviously, since I was born in America, since I am American, I would like to see the American players do well. And luckily, we have quite a bit of American players that are doing really good on both the men and women's side. Oh, Riley Opelka, he won his match. I remember him. He's the tallest active player at 6'10" or 11. Jeez. At this point, that's normal for a basketball player. Okay. Apparently, some matches got canceled. Brandon Nakashima lost. That's an upset. Brandon Nakashima from the USA, seeded number 28, he lost. That was a surprise. Okay, back to Monday's matches. That's the only upset so far. Oh, wow. Nope, we have a huge upset. Damn. Number 4 seeded player Taylor Fritz lost in the first round. The number 4 seeded player from America, USA, Taylor Fritz, the player that was in the US Open final last year, lost to a German player. Never heard of this player. Daniel Altmaier. Well, I'm sure I'll hear about that on I might hear about that on Christopher Mad Dog Russo's podcast, Mad Dog Unleashed. Sometimes he'll talk a little bit about tennis. So, here's the thing. It's so hard to follow these matches live, especially when it's in a different country. But here's what sucks. This is for the people that can't record stuff. All they can do is look up the highlights on YouTube, and the highlight videos are so short. And not only that, they always show the winner. They always put the winner in the thumbnail of the matches. It's so stupid, and they're still doing that crap to this day. I mean, lucky me, I don't have to deal with that anymore because I have YouTube TV. Let's see. Taylor Fritz lost, and he won the bronze medal. He won the bronze medal on that surface last year in the Olympics. It was in men's doubles. Okay, Carlos Alcaraz took care of business. Same with Casper Ruud from Norway. Stefanos Tsitsipas. Wow, his ranking dropped. He used to be in the top 10. Now he's number 20. Okay, that's about it. So Taylor Fritz is out. Wow. Women's side. Okay, Sunday, May 25th. And the upsets, there's usually more upsets on the women's side on the first 2 rounds. Let's see. I think the favorite is the number 1 seeded player, Aryna Sabalenka. I heard that Iga Swiatek, she's not playing well lately. I heard that from Patrick McEnroe. She used to be the number 2 seeded player. Now, she dropped to number 5 in the rankings. And she won the French Open like 3 or 4 times. And, yeah, she's not doing well right now, apparently. I mean, I haven't really been following much tennis ever since the Australian Open. But thankfully, I'm glad to listen to that podcast by Patrick McEnroe. So, let's see. Any upsets? I'm scrolling down. Oh. The Filipino player, Alexander Ayla, she lost in the first round. She's the player that I talked about a while ago. She was in the semifinals in the Miami Open. That was awesome to see her there. I believe this was her first French Open on the main draw. Sabalenka did took care of business, 6-1, 6-0, or 6-love as they would say. A few more. That's where we had a canceled match between Alina Rybakina and Belinda Bencic. I mean, that sounds like an interesting matchup to me. Those are two well-known names. Okay, now to Monday's matchup. So far, no upsets from Sunday. Monday, Madison Keys took care of business. I remember her opponent. She beat Darius Saville. She used to be her last name used to be Gavrilova until she changed her last name because she got married. She's Australian. Madison Keys did win the Australian Open this year. I was very happy for her. Let's see. Oh, and speaking of Australia, Daria Kasatkina, who was born in Russia, she now is an Australian she has like an Australian citizenship. Or she's an Australian citizen. That's what I meant to say. So good for her on that. Of course, got a lot of French players. Caroline Garcia lost. The French female player, she lost to a player named an American, Bernarda Pera. I never heard of her. Danielle Collins won, as people would say, the villain, the heel. Remember last year she said she was going to announce her retirement, but now she didn't, but she decided not to. Oh, this was a tough matchup. Naomi Osaka against Paula Badosa. Paula Badosa won in 3 sets. However, Naomi Osaka won the first set 7-6 in a tiebreaker 7-1. Paula Badosa won the second set 6-1, and then she won the final set 6-4. Obviously, that was a tough matchup for both of them. Iga won. Number 5 seed from Poland, she won. She took care of business. Emma Raducanu won in 3 sets. Alina Rybakina, she won. So I guess Belinda Bencic could not play, apparently. Oh my gosh, we have a huge upset on the women's side. And it is an American female, Emma Navarro. She lost, and she got crushed by a Spanish player named Jessica Monero. She beat Emma Navarro 6-love, 6-1. Oh my gosh. And that's it. So 2 huge upsets. One on the male side, one on the female side, and they're both American players. Taylor Fritz and Emma Navarro are out. Okay, so round 1 concludes today, and then tomorrow will be round 2. Okay, so let me see here. The women's singles today, any interesting matchups? Usually the answer is no, but it depends on the rankings. Let's see. Victoria Azarenka, she's one of the OG players now. Sophia Kenin, the American player, let's see how she does. Coco Gauff, number 2 seeded player, she plays today. Or I should say she played today, because a lot of these matches are early in the morning. Okay. So I might, if I have time, I might watch that Tennis Channel prime time show or the TNT DVR show with Patrick McEnroe. So Okay, now to the okay. So I talked about auto racing because that was the biggest events of the year. French Open began, and now we'll do NBA NHL playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah. I didn't get to watch any of the games, although I did saw the very end of the New York Knicks Indiana Pacers game from Sunday night. That was about it. Um, we'll do NBA first. Okay, so Friday night was game 2 of the East Finals between the Indiana, I said Indian, excuse me, Indiana Pacers at the New York Knicks. Uh, that'd be weird if there was a team named the Indiana Indians. Think about that. Uh, it was in Madison Square Garden. The Pacers won game 2 by a score of 114 to 109, which meant the Knicks were in big trouble because that meant the series went to Indiana. Saturday night was game 3 of the West Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves easily won by a score of 143 to 101. Wow. That's a lot. So that means Oklahoma City, the Timberwolves needed to win that game because they were down 2-0. Now it's Oklahoma City leads 2-1. And then Sunday night was the game that I saw at the very end. Knicks Pacers at Indiana game 3. The Knicks won by a score of 106 to 100. The Pacers lead 2-1. Obviously, the Knicks really needed to win that game. And tonight will be game 4. Or excuse me, last night, I forgot, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Last night was game 4 of the West Finals between the Thunder at the Timberwolves. This was a really close game. However, the Thunder won by 2 points this time, 128 to 126, and they now are leading 3-1. And the series is going back to Oklahoma City. So tonight will be game 4 of the East Finals between the Knicks and the Pacers. It's still a must-win for the Knicks, in my opinion. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday night, will be game 5 between the Timberwolves at the Thunder. If the Thunder win, they go to the NBA Finals. So, which I do have them going to the finals. But I want to see the Knicks go to the finals and win the finals. That would be awesome. Because they haven't won it in forever. Now to the NHL playoffs. Friday night was game 2 of the West Final between the Edmonton Oilers at the Dallas Stars. The Oilers won by a score of 3-0 on the road. Okay. And the series was tied 1 game apiece. Saturday night was game 3 of the East Final between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. The Panthers won easily by a score of 6-2. And the Panthers took a 3-0 series lead. Wow, the Panthers are on fire. Sunday night was game 3 of the West Final between the Stars at the Oilers. The Oilers won easily by a score of 6-1. Wow. And they take the series. They now lead 2-1. Last night was game 4 between the Hurricanes and the Panthers. This time, the Hurricanes shut out the Panthers 3-0, 3-0. Obviously, it was a must-win for the Hurricanes. Otherwise, the series would have ended. So tonight will be game 4 between the Stars at the Oilers. And tomorrow night will be game 5 between the Panthers at the Hurricanes. Another must-win for the Hurricanes. And we shall see what happens. We might get a Stanley Cup final rematch between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. That might happen. So, but I want the Edmonton Oilers to win for a few reasons. Number one, they were so close to pulling off the ultimate comeback from last year. Number two, who we would like to see Connor McDavid hoist the cup. The man who scored the game-winning goal for Team Canada in the Four Nations face-off a couple months ago. And number three, it's been like 30 years since the last time a Canadian NHL team won the Stanley Cup final. And since I am, a fan of the Canadian Sports Center, that'll be great if Edmonton wins the cup. We shall see, man. We shall see. I hope they do. But it's still hard to say. Especially, best of 7 games, for both the NBA and NHL playoffs. Okay. Let's see here. To the MLB here. Let's check the standings. How many wins do the Colorado Rockies have? Wow, they won 9 games. One more win. They can get double-digit wins. One more win. Will they? The big question is, will they win 10 games before the end of this month or before June 1st? Meaning May 31st is the last day. Do you think they'll win one more game before June 1st? Let's see what they have. Their upcoming schedule. They play 2 games at the Chicago Cubs, Wrigley Field, tonight and tomorrow night. I think they're going to lose both of those games. And then they go to, oh my gosh, they go to the New York Mets, Citi Field. They're probably going to, they have 4 games left. I think they're going to lose all 4. What in the hell happened to this team? I mean, I know they're usually the last place team in that division, but they're never this bad. Man. The second worst team is the Chicago White Sox, and they have more wins, like a lot more wins. They have 17 wins. They have 8 more wins than the Rockies. That's crazy. The team that has the most wins, I believe, is the Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. They're very close. They're neck and neck. In the National League East, Chicago Cubs are winning the National League Central. St. Louis Cardinals are 3 games behind. The NL West is the toughest division. The LA Dodgers are winning that division. The San Diego Padres are 2 games behind. And same with the San Francisco Giants. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're 6 games behind. They're not that far behind. But the Colorado Rockies, they are 24 games behind. Jeez. The American League East, it's the New York Yankees. Okay, they're ahead by 6 games. I don't even know what the heck happened to the Baltimore Orioles. They made the playoffs last year. They're not good this year. And the American League Central, the Detroit Lions are winning that division. Okay. And the American League West, it's pretty close right now with the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros. All right, before I get to the UFL, is there any big ESPN news that I would like to share? Let's see here. we do have some breaking news in the WNBA, which I don't really follow, but I know it's really popular now because of Caitlin Clark. She's one of the reasons why the WNBA is really popular. The Indiana Fever announced that Caitlin Clark will be out a minimum of 2 weeks, a left quad strain. Wow. And the season just started. Hey, but better than getting injured in the playoffs, that's for sure, or late in the season. All right, let's see. Any other breaking news? Nope, that's really the only breaking news that I have. So yeah. All right, now finally, I'm gonna recap the UFL, which isn't really much of a recap. I'll tell you why. Because it's week 9. It was week 9 in the UFL, and um, now because there's one more regular season week. We're at the end. The regular season's coming to an end, and at this point, it's all about the playoffs. The playoffs are set. They are the four teams have been decided. The four teams have clinched the playoffs, and the four other teams have been eliminated. So a lot of these games don't really matter. But however, what matters is the seedings for the playoffs. So Friday night was the St. Louis Battlehawks at the San Antonio Brahmas. I don't know why San Antonio's playing another home game. What is with this schedule? This UFL schedule sometimes just makes no sense. Why are the Brahmas playing 4 home games in a row? Like, that's not fair. Well, I guess it doesn't matter now because they're eliminated. And they lost again. The Battlehawks won 39 to 13. I did not watch that game. I didn't even watch the highlights because that game didn't mean anything. The Battlehawks are already in the playoffs. Brahmas are eliminated. So that's why that game really didn't mean anything. Saturday, Arlington Renegades at the Memphis Showboats. That game didn't mean anything as well because both teams were eliminated in the playoffs. But the Renegades won 30 to 12 at Memphis. Memphis has like the least attendance. It's either them or Houston. Houston might now have the least attendance fans. And then later on Saturday, this was the game of the week, no question. The Michigan Panthers at the Birmingham Stallions. Okay, this was the game of the week. The game was on ABC, I believe, or ESPN, and I didn't have to watch it live, so I watched it. However, I actually watched it like an hour after their broadcast started. I believe there's a moth. I believe this game started at 2 p.m. Central, and I started watching it an hour later from the beginning at 3 p.m. And I skimmed through the commercials. It was a really good game. I had a feeling the Stallions would win, mainly because they're the home team, and they did, 26 to 22. And in a couple of weeks, these two teams will face each other again in the playoffs. The question is, which team will get the home game? It might be Birmingham because Birmingham beat the Michigan Panthers twice. Both at Michigan and in Birmingham, and I believe their record is the same. Their win-loss record is now the same. So I think the Stallions will be hosting the USFL Championship Conference Championship. I'll have to check the standings after this. And then the last game, DC Defenders at the Houston Roughnecks. Wow, somehow the Roughnecks won 24-21. Yeah, that's the team that I want to root for, but I didn't watch that game. It was on Sunday, big day for auto racing. That game came on right after the Indy 500. They did that on purpose. They did that on purpose just so that more people can watch that game. But that game didn't mean anything because the Houston Roughnecks they're already eliminated in the playoffs. And why in the hell was that a day game in Houston? It was so hot. Maybe that's why there's no fans in the stands. Who wants to go to a football game in 90-degree weather? Not me. That game should have been at night. Why wasn't that game at night? Like, seriously, why wasn't that game at night? Or why wasn't that game on Friday night? And have the Battlehawks Brahmas game Sunday afternoon because it's indoors. That's an indoor game. I'm telling you, man, this UFL schedule is so dumb sometimes. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I bet you a lot of people, as soon as the Indy 500 ended, and when they saw that UFL game came on, I bet you a lot of those people turned that off. They probably did not give a damn about that game. Anyways, so that was your UFL Week 9 recap. I mainly watched one game, which was the big one, Panthers Stallions. Now let's check the standings. So, in the USFL Conference, both the Panthers and the Stallions are 6-3. So they will face each other again in a couple of weeks. The game to go into the UFL Championship. XFL Conference, St. Louis Battlehawks are 7-2, and the DC Defenders are 6-3. So most likely, it's going to be the DC Defenders at the St. Louis Battlehawks for the XFL Conference Championship game. Let me check here. It's not official yet on which team will be hosting it because we got one more regular season week. Okay? And OMG, we are getting the Battlehawks and the Defenders at DC on Friday night. I guess I'll record that game because that game's on Fox. Or I don't know. I might be able to watch that live. Who knows? That's obviously the game of the week. And yeah, the other games don't really mean anything. That is the game of the week. Battlehawks, Defenders. And then the week after that, they will face each other again to go into the UFL championship game. It's kind of funny, but yeah, man. That game's on Fox. Will the XFL Conference Championship game be on Fox as well? The answer is yes. So they will. Both the Battlehawks and the Defenders will face each other 2 weeks in a row, both on Fox. Okay, and then the USFL Conference Championship game will be on ABC Sunday, June 8th. All right. That's kind of weird. That's on a Sunday instead of a Saturday. But the championship game's on a Saturday night? That's weird. Anyways, it's always weird. But I like the UFL game itself, so that's why I'm a fan. Alright, guys, that is it for this big episode of KSN Memorial Day weekend recap in sports. Yeah, a lot of my favorite sports talk podcasts, they didn't do a Monday episode, and I didn't either. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple of days on Friday to talk more about sports. So obviously the big thing right now is the French Open tennis, NBA, NHL, East and West Conference Finals, and then, this weekend, the last week of the UFL regular season. So, yep. All right. Well, that was a cool talk, and I did an episode. I did an hour and 10 episode. I did an hour and 10 episode. Oh, wait a second. I just realized. Did y'all hear the music at the beginning? I don't think y'all did. Somehow I apologize. Somehow my laptop was muted. Well, if you didn't hear the music, then now you hear it. So yeah. Wait, no. Now you don't hear it. The heck? Now you don't hear it. It's that OBS setting that I need to change. Yeah, I'm using OBS, by the way. Okay, you should be able to hear it right now. No? You still can't hear it? Oh. I don't know. Oh, the tab was muted. So I really don't remember if you heard the music at the beginning or not, but now you really do hear it, because I'm looking at the OBS audio mixer. It's working now. Alright guys, thank you for listening, and see you next time. Thank you for listening to Keith Sports News.